Greeting, friends. As we continue our small group series, I'm joined by my good friend, one of our lay servant leaders of our church, Dow Bauknight. I'm sure he's had all kinds of different leadership opportunities at our church throughout the years, and he's kind of represent the laity perspective within our small group series. And Dow and I talked about, really, Dow wanted to mention Matthew chapter 6, verse 2-4, where, and I'm paraphrasing here, where Jesus warns us of trumpeting our piety before others, that we should, all that we do for the glory of God, keep it in silence and in secret. Well, friends, I want to mention to everyone here that I'm the one who reached out to Dow as a friend and as a disciple of Jesus to give witness and testimony of his journey in growing in generosity. So, Dow, I just wanted to get that out of the way, sir.
Right on. Dispensation is a good thing. Thank you. I'm relieved. I'm relieved.
and Dow and I've had previous conversations about this particular shared time together. And Dow, one thing that really struck me as a witness is whenever you talked about financial generosity and growing in simplicity, you always included Kitty, your wife, in the conversation to denote that this is not just a personal decision-making process, but this has always been a family journey together. So with that in mind, I wanted to kind of ask you, although many of us may or may not intentionally think about financial generosity, if we grew up in the church, it's a concept that we are very familiar with. But at a certain point, as we grow in our Christian discipleship, we do take intentional steps toward growing in our generosity. So maybe you can kind of talk about that journey between you and Kitty and your family. When and how and where did you finally decide, we're going to be intentional about this, and we're going to be intentional to grow in our capacity for generosity?
Great. Thank you. Thank you very much. So I'll start with the early influencers in our respective lives. As many people know, I'm the son of a Methodist minister. And so I saw tithing, I saw generosity of giving from the recipient's side. And so tithing, giving to support the church outreach was always there in my life. In parallel to that, Kitty's family was very focused on the tithe, very focused. It was something they just did. And that led to just some amazing things to happen in their lives, including sponsoring a person from Korea to come to the U.S. And Hyobok, she just died in the last year.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Hyobok and her husband becoming a part of their family and then my family. So just incredible things. So that was how we got into generosity from a money standpoint. So you called me and asked me to do this, and I was thinking about it, and Kitty and I were riding along, and so I sort of started sharing some ideas with her, and she said, generosity also has some other dimensions, time. And I thought, great idea. So that really broadened my perspective and context for the discussion to have with you. And so like you mentioned earlier, this has been a joint journey for Kitty and me. And it's just been great to talk about how we share the money, where it goes, what are we called to do, and so forth. And so this is yet one more example of how we collaborated, and I relied on her input to basically outline this conversation with you. So that's where I've enlarged my part of the conversation to really cover three aspects of generosity. One, we focused on already. Second is time. And then third is what I called mind share. Mind share. Of the three, the money part is actually the easiest part.
Mm.
It's actually the easiest part. Let me give you a little backdrop though on that.
Absolutely.
We started tithing when we were first married, and one thing that, in retrospect, I look back on is making a tithe when your annual salary is only $13,000 is a lot harder than making a tithe when it's 10 or 100 times that.
Mm-hmm.
But we did it. We did it. We had a sofa to sit on and a bed to sleep in, and that was pretty much it. But we were happy to make that contribution, and it was a habit that we formed then, and we've continued it. And we always talk about, okay, what is the total tithe for next year, and then how do we sort of divide that up? So that's sort of the context of how that all worked, and it's still working today.
Mm-hmm.
The time and mind share really began to take seat when the two of us started getting involved in things that are making a difference in people's lives. And we quickly found out that having two small children, having a job that kept me out of town most every day, all day, sometimes a week at a time, time is precious.
Mm.
And so, quite frankly, we had a tendency to overcommit, and that is not pleasant. We come to despise the very organizations that were there to help because of our inability to selectively do things and not overcommit.
Yeah.
So that was sort of that part of the journey. And then as we became involved in certain nonprofits, certain church activities, we began to notice that there's a distinction between timeshare and mind share.
Mm-hmm.
I think about the conversation that I had with a flight attendant one day, and I asked her how she liked her job, and she said, it's great because I come to the airport, I clock in, I get on the plane. Yeah, there's sometimes some unpleasant situations that I have to deal with. She said, but I have the ability, when I get off the plane, I clock out. I'm gone, right? And so we can show up and we can do something, we can clock out and go back to our lives. But when it starts to really affect a person, affect me, is when I go, I do something, and it's on my mind. I'm thinking about that situation. It really becomes a part of who I am. So of the three, that is the most expensive in a good way. It's the most expensive part of this generosity context that I'm thinking about. So I want to share a little bit about our journey. So from a personal standpoint, you kind of get the gist of what that's all about. One of the things we started with a family business about 5 years ago is we said, say, what do y'all think about tithing 10% of the profits? And the group said, wow, that's exciting. And Uyan, it was amazing. It was amazing. Our family of 9 crossed the entire spectrum of beliefs, just shy of atheism. But we're all the way across the board in terms of our beliefs and so forth. But this particular undertaking got everybody up. I mean, excited. And I remember the first discussions, like threw it out there, said, come talk about, your charity. Doesn't matter whether it's religious or what, but your charity. And you would think that you were at a pitch event where entrepreneurs were pitching their program as the best. It was just phenomenal. It was phenomenal. And to see the excitement in everyone's face, regardless of their faith or level thereof, to see the excitement about reaching out and making a difference in other people's lives. And so we've been doing that. It's been at least 5 years. And so the rule was 10% of profits. Well, we haven't always made very much money every year. And so it was like, oh, this is good. Oh, we can give more. Oh, we can give more. Oh, slack year. What are we going to do? And we looked at our cash position and said, let's just do what we did last year. And boy, was that exciting. That was exciting. And so that's just been an incredible journey. And part of it is just bringing the family in and giving them an opportunity to see and experience generosity, not based just on their own purse. And so that's just been a great family experience.
Dow, gosh, okay. So there's a whole lot there that I'm sure we can talk about far more in detail. A couple of things I just wanted our audience, our sisters and brothers of Mars Park UMC who might be viewing this video to kind of pay attention to. Dow, you mentioned that when you and Kitty first began, I think the figure that you mentioned, your annual kind of compensation to be $13,000. And for me, when I hear that, going back to this notion of planting seeds that will grow and grow, I wonder, had you not then, so many years ago, if you didn't make that decision then, what would that have done for all the things that you are able to do now, not only between you and Kitty, but also with your kids and grandkids? That was a seed of generosity that really grew throughout the years and the decades and throughout your generations of family. And I think that's a wonderful blessing. The other part that I want folks to kind of recognize from the things that you shared is, Dow, you might be one of the most joyful givers, right? I don't know what kind of giving formation that I receive, but you typically associate pain with giving, but it doesn't always have to be that, right?
No.
What you're witnessing to is the joy of generosity that a lot of people don't seem to perhaps know, but it's there. There is joy in generosity. And for you and your family, it brought community together around that generosity.
Yes.
And you're able to even grow closer to each other through that mutual kind of mission and vision to grow. That's awesome.
Yeah. I want to pick up on one point you made about the early years, $13,000, year one of our marriage. And so one thought that I would share with people is just do it. There's not going to be a better time. In fact, a parallel, we were married, happily married. Life was good. I think we were married for 5 years, and we said, should we start a family? And we looked around and go, well, this is a lot of fun. This is a lot of fun, but we went ahead and started a family. We have 3 wonderful children. We have grandchildren. But I use that as a parallel is that when we get comfortable with where we are and get very comfortable with where we are, it just gets harder to change. So I would reach out to the congregation and say, don't care how young you are, just start. Just start. In fact, our oldest grandchild is 9, and she and her buddy Finn across the street have a lemonade stand, and she makes pot holders, the little square ones, and they sell that on the street. And Finn and Adelaide, they take the proceeds, they pay for their supplies, and the remainder, Finn gets a third, Adelaide gets a third, the other third goes to the charity of their choice.
Wow. Yeah.
And so 9 years old, it's just she's shaming me, a third, right? A third. So just start yourself, and just get that mindset into people, so that Kitty and I both benefited from having precedents surrounding us before it came time for us to make the decision to do that. The other thing is, you just reminded me, how hard can it get? Well, my company went public back right around 2000, and because of that, I received an incredible windfall from the company. And now, mind you, this was a windfall that created, I'll call it the corpus, the base that Kitty and I were to live on for the next 30 to 50 years. Mm. Okay, what do you do with that windfall, right? And Kitty and I talked about that and said, well, the profits, we're going to tithe. Mm-hmm. The profits, we're going to tithe. And it was not an agonizing thing for us to do, but we spent time talking about it because, hey, we don't plan to have to work, right? Mm-hmm. So what is this nut big enough? We talked about it. We didn't agonize on it. And Jan, that was so much fun. That was so much fun. Giving. It was fun. So I just wanted to interject that into yet another particular situation in a person's life. It's like, how about me? How about me? Right? Just let go and do it.
Yeah. Thank you. Once again, I think a reoccurring theme as we share time together is this sense of joy of giving, joy of being generous, as God is generous with us. Now, as we kind of near the end of our time, I know another part of the gospel lesson that resonates so strongly with you, and we wanted to at least mention and speak into, and I think we've already spoken into this particular passage, is Luke chapter 10, verse 27. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your strength, and with all your mind, and love and we got to continue to remember this part. And then it doesn't end there. It's love your neighbors as you love yourself. And this part really goes back to at the very beginning, Dow, as you were mentioning this missionary that you supported who recently passed away. The generosity piece always has the neighbor part connected to it, that it helps us to connect with our neighbors.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it informs our relationships with the other, and it brings us into full circle of God's really wide family, near and far. And that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, and well said. And the friendships that we've created because of those last two items, time and mind share, in many situations, the people involved have no idea of the financial contribution. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Kitty works over at the Learning Collaborative, mm-hmm. Over in Greer Heights, and she loves those teachers, and they love Kitty.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
they love Kitty, and so that's love thy neighbor. That's what a wonderful way of thinking about generosity. The most expensive parts, time and mind share. And just the concluding comment that I have is that it has been the real joy part of this, from a personal perspective, has been the sharing between Kitty and me on this generosity trip. Just understanding what's going on with me and Bauknight, Haiti, where I've been involved for 11 years, very reluctantly at first. I did not want to be involved. The good Lord and the Holy Spirit just leave me alone. Leave me alone. All right, I'm going. Yeah. But the benefit personally from that, but not only the personal benefit, but sharing that journey with Kitty, and likewise with the things that she does. And it's brought us into a more complete union.
Yeah.
A more complete union. So other than that, don't have much to say.
Well, Dow, I'll tell you what, I don't know if we'll have to have a part 2 to this, but we're so grateful for your witness in your faith journey that you've shared with us today. And friends, we give thanks for God's joy, that the joy that God has in store for us as we journey together in faith, as we grow in generosity. Thanks be to God.
Amen.